and by our work we are changed. Hello everyone, and I thought I'd go live to show you a little bit more about the Tarot of the Secret Dawn. This is a rediscovered deck. It's an extremely rare and barely known deck that we have reconstructed out of original text from the Golden Dawn itself. And I thought I'd tell you a little bit about Meakin, about the Adept that Arthur Edward Waite really felt very strongly about, that he was a good magician, and indeed Waite reported seeing this deck that Meakin had talked about actually from Meakin himself, and he sent Meakin on some occult magical missions across Europe as well, which is all part of the history of the Golden Dawn. So we have a special offer at the moment that we have quite a few of these, or about 20 or so, that are overstocked, and we wanted to offer those for anyone joining the membership area. So you only have to join the membership for $4.99 a month, and even if you cancel in the first month, then you'll still get one of these decks as well, just for the cost of postage. And we'll be posting them from the UK and the US. So if you're in the US, to which the offer applies, you'll only be paying local US postage and no tariffs or anything else, no additional taxes, other than, I guess, if you have any local state tax. And in the UK, I'll be sending them out from the ones that I have spare here as well. And if you're already a member, thank you so much for supporting the channel, and you are not going without. There will be either you can take advantage of this offer, or I will get some extra of these decks for you and just send them for the cost of postage, or you can choose one of the other decks that we have overstocks of as well. And basically we have to clear some room. We have Shay and I running out of space with all of the projects that we've done, and we just wanted to clear those out. And also we have this unique opportunity, because I'm on this YouTube bootcamp at the moment. I suddenly realized how important it was to show them that tarot was taken seriously, that Western Esotericism could be delivered on YouTube in a non-spooky, accessible, dare I say, entertaining sometimes manner, and that we can show them that, because then I'm going to get invited into a inner sort of cabal. Hello everyone, hello Neil, hello Apox, hello birds. Yeah, so it is a big opportunity, probably a once only opportunity, whilst I'm in this sort of secret cabal of 100 other influencer types, gamers, personal hobbyists, all sorts of other channels that YouTube have in this bootcamp, that I suddenly thought we're representing tarot, we're representing esotericism, and I'm talking about that with all of these other people. And because YouTube has such a generalist audience, particularly for tarot, and so it is unfortunately the most common denominator channels that tend to. Hello Patricia, hello and welcome, and greetings to Canada. So yeah, it is very lowest common denominator people doing terrible readings with, oh, I've got the death card for you, if you private message me I can remove your curse, and all of that sort of thing. We have this opportunity at the moment, whilst I've got YouTube's attention, to actually show that I can grow the channel, hence a push for members, and as a result we'll be able to discuss with YouTube, with their community managers, any issues we have with the channel, any the management of the channel, any moderation of the channel, and ideas for growing the channel, reaching out to other people and so forth. So it's a great opportunity. So I thought it'd be a win-win-win, win for YouTube, win for me on the bootcamp to do my homework, and a win for members, and a win for Shay and I to clear some space. You'll notice I always point the camera down, or I have these nice videos of the shelves. What you never see is the floor. I will, if I'm brave enough at some point, or on request, on demand, I'll take a picture of the floor at the moment. There are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 20. There's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 13 piles of 30 books that I can just see out of the corner of my eye that should be on shelves at the moment. So, yeah, hello everyone, hello everyone. So we're going to have a look at this deck, and I'm going to talk about it. And this is, you can get a print version of this, but we send a PDF out as well to everyone who has the deck. So, hello Zivko, and welcome to Calcination as a beginner. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So you'll be getting one of these decks for the cost of postage alone. So thank you very much for that. And this is not just a crappy deck that you could just go and pick up from a bargain bin basement store or something like this. A lot of work went into this, and it is rare, and it is unusual, and it's very lesser known, and it lay hidden in the archives of the Golden Dawn for over 100 years before Derek Bain actually pointed it out and said to me, "Oh, I've come across these papers and they seem to mention a tarot deck. Do you know anything about it?" And I was like, it's a tarot deck. This guy, these typescripts are describing a tarot deck. And it became immediately obvious that we should design the tarot deck that was being described, because no one has ever seen this particular deck. So here's the sort of typescript that we have. And it looks as if it's in code. So we had to do a little bit of work, or as any of our members who are currently doing our first lesson in the Initiatory will know, you have to learn your correspondences. So here we have Path, and that's the Hebrew letter for Kaf. This is the astrological symbol for Jupiter, number 4. He said 4 and Netzach 7 equals 11, and then there's some numerology. Above the cross of Jupiter, intelligence of conciliation. This is a reference to the Sefer Yetzirah. Ground colors of Jupiter, male and female. These are the color scales, which you'll know as you begin to learn correspondences. The whole card is the ladder of the stars divided by 3, so 44. 22 up, 22 down, and so on. So basically, this describes cards, but there is no version of the cards extant. So what we decided to do was we'd worked with award-winning portrait artist and fine art artist Janine Hall, whose work is absolutely astonishing, on our Union deck, on our Tarot of Everlasting Day Major Arcana deck. And that was 12 years. We worked on that for 12 years to do those 22 paintings and have them printed as cards. And pretty soon we'll be reprinting those as well, because again, they're beautiful artwork that Janine did. So I said to her, well, if you've got some time on your hands, how about designing and doing the artwork for a deck based on Golden Dawn Adept's instructions? And she said, yeah, okay, let's go ahead and do that. And it has Drawing in the Dawn by Janine Hall. Her description here of the vision that was immediate was a sketchbook, old and yellowed. On the pages, someone had been working out ideas in Da Vinci starred stream of consciousness. And basically, and she was joined by a presence, the presence of Meakin, brown tweed type jacket and cream coloured thick cotton shirt. And this is almost certainly Meakin, the guy who designed this. And so she was actually had the presence of Meakin while she designed this. And you can see how she was laying them out sort of geometrically in terms of artistic patterns and structures like the golden mean and the Fibonacci ratio and so forth. And that resulted in something quite magical as well. So this is the book that describes our research. Tali did some research into Meakin, and let me just find that. So we had his magical name, which was Ex Oriente Lux, light from the east, and he was Neville Gauntlet Tudor Meakin. I can always remember his name as Meakin, but never, sometimes Neville, but I always think, is it Neville? Because he's got a long name. Neville Gauntlet Tudor Meakin, born in 1876 and died in 1912. And he actually was born in Ambleside, which is literally just down the road from where both Tali and I live in Keswick. So in Ambleside, Cumbria. So Waite described him as an advanced occultist and in character as a man of honour and very seriously concerned with his esoteric work. Waite wrote that Meakin had showed him a set of his own tarot images based on the Golden Dawn teachings in 1911. And it goes on to describe Tali's research into who Meakin actually was. So this is an initiatory tarot. It was scryed, visualized by Neville Meakin, the Ex Oriente Lux, the light from the east, the brother light from the east of the Stella Matutina of the Golden Dawn, by an adept in that order. So this is an actual Golden Dawn tarot deck. It really is an authentic, proper, real Golden Dawn tarot deck. And so what we did was we designed the back of the box. So this provides a little mini altar on which you can place the cards for meditation and so forth. And so I'd like to show you the cards and a few of the things that we can do with the cards. And if you've got any questions, just drop them in the chat. I'll be happy to chat. That's a good thing about doing the lives, is that we have the chat. So this is Major Arcana, and I love the fact that the box is sort of sepia, brown toned. This is exactly how we wanted it, how Janine had visualized it. And so I'm just going to take the cards out here, then put the altar back. So what are people's first impressions when they see these images? When you see these images, does it bring anything to mind? Do you have any particular response to them? Do they even look like a tarot deck to you? Do they look magical, mysterious, incomprehensible, inviting, evocative? How would you describe these images now you're looking at them? Excellent, Neil. Yeah, an astral realm, it really is, and we're going to come on to that in a second. Let me just get a thing that I just printed for us. So this is a Tree of Life with the cards actually on them. It's difficult to see the detail of this. It's far better to have the electronic version. Perfect for contemplation. It really is, because it was created through scrying, through Neville Meakin actually going into the correspondences, which is why I teach correspondences, and generating these mystical visions. And as a result, Hello, Bill. Hello, welcome, welcome. As a result, we can go back in to them on the Tree of Life and do all sorts of interesting things to re-scry them. Visual templates for inner recognition. That's a wonderful way of putting it, Patricia. Thank you. So this is exactly what these are. They are a bit like we have the Waitrinic images. These are the equivalent for magic, for the Golden Dawn. So imagine with the Waitrinic images, you have a mystical and spiritual progression and map, and with the Tarot of the Secret Dawn, with what would, I guess, be called the Meakin Tarot, or the Tarot of the Light of the East, or the Golden Dawn. We've called it the Tarot of the Secret Dawn. We have a magical map for magical path working, psychological work, spiritual work, astral work, etheric work, but mainly in the realm of alchemy, astrology, magic, and all that good stuff. So we have two maps, and both of them are decks that have been hidden for a century. And this is really where we like to work. We like to work in the order. We like to work in the Actual Magician's Bookshelf channel. We're going to be doing proper work within these historical, authentic, or as authentic as we can make them, relics, these artifacts, by the people who did the work, by the people who were there. So let's take a look at this card here. To show you how these cards are actually designed and drawn and so forth. It's described a bit more in the booklet, in the pamphlet that you'll get as a PDF if you join the Actual Magician's Bookshelf channel and want this for just the price of postage. That this is a Janine wanted. Based on the descriptions, there was very much a clear distinction of above, middle, and below. So she really lent into that sort of design ethos of the cards. Meakin described certain things like the obelisk, and to the right, the symbol of Jupiter, below a hexagram, to the left, a pentagram, above an infinity symbol. So we know that the cards probably looked like this, sort of ish, but again, if I could go back in time to any time, I would want to go back to Pamela Coleman Smith and Arthur Edward Waite designing the Waite Smith deck, just so I could satisfy myself of how close we'd got to imagining and describing their work together. And I would want to go back to ask Meakin and have a look at his deck, the deck he showed to Arthur Edward Waite, and see how close Janine, Derek, Tali, and I were in designing this. And it could have been totally different. It could have been something that we totally missed in his description or his execution of it. Or it might be sort of eerily similar in some ways. He might have hand drawn it. He was, who knows what sort of artist he was. He probably hand drew them, I would imagine, or got someone in the order to draw them. And they would have been the 22 cards, and a bit like the very first time I saw some of the Golden Dawn objects, relics, wands and so forth, I thought, oh, they're not quite as ornate. They were very, they struck me as being very handmade, almost amateurish, and that shouldn't really have surprised me in retrospect. But yeah, sometimes our imagination is a lot more than the actual reality. And if you think about the materials the Golden Dawn had when they were creating their stuff, obviously the Freemasonic side of it, very, very wealthy, very well resourced and so forth. But for some of the members, if you have a look at Yeats's notebooks and so forth, it's sort of very, very hand done. Some of it's beautiful, though some of it's very elegant and very, very accomplished. So, yeah, so each of these cards has sort of three levels to it. And the detail that Janina's managed to put into the artwork, again, she is a very, very accomplished, fine artwork artist. And so I'm just particularly looking for a particular card. This card here, the Blasted Tower, the equivalent of the Blasted Tower, or the letter P. Can you see how we have the lightning flash and the three crosses on the hill of Golgotha down at the bottom there? And then this imagery with the spear that pierces the side of Christ symbolically on the cross, with the lightning flash rending the veil that is in the background as well. It's astonishing symbolism, and Janina's done us proud with her depiction of it. I particularly like the pyramid on fire for the initiatory experience of the calcination, the burning of the first material, and then the egg here as well, which we'll come back onto in the darkness. Yeah, so, and this card here, Cancer, the Chariot, again, very unlike, but if you think about the lunar symbolism on the side of the Chariot, the Cancer symbolism, this one is Death, the dark black triangle in the middle of nothingness, but the lotus coming out of the waves at the bottom, the sun. The world, Malkuth, and notice these three levels, again, very symbolic here, but then the gateway, the doorway, and then the moon that represents the path to Yesod, the Sephira of Yesod, to which the moon is also corresponds. So each of these cards has these three levels. That's the first thing to say. And as a result, I don't know if you can see it in the booklet, but we can overlay them. And this is where it really comes into its own. And it's just incredibly fascinating. And we will have a look at this in other videos, I'm sure, particularly in the members only area. But if you have a look at this video, at this image here, if you can see, we made some transparent overlays of the cards, and here we actually have the egg that we saw on the other card. It's now inside the pyramid on fire when you lay the cards out in their correspondences to the Tree of Life. And here we have the gateway of Malkuth at the bottom, going into the lunar area of Yesod, with the veil that we saw with the three crosses entering the burning pyramid of Tiferet, with the egg cooking inside it to be redeemed and resurrected by the Grail, all the way up to the Ankh of eternal life. Hello, Karen. Hello and welcome. So we have the Ankh of eternal life here. So when we lay out the cards, and Janine saw that really early on, so here we have that similar overlay where the stand for the burning torch actually is held by the gateway to set fire to the pyramid, with the egg inside it, with the arising of the soul, with the hexagram, and then the pillar of brightness and the symbol of illumination at the top of it for the High Priestess card. So to some extent she lent into that, but to some extent that developed naturally just from the card's description. So when you lay them out on the Tree of Life, you can see that they are a workbook, that they are a functional manual, that they are a illustration, a guidebook for that etheric astral realm of magical self-development. But this was exactly how they were created, by scrying, by someone who knew the correspondences, knew the symbolism, was doing the actual work, and as a result developed and came up with an illustration of that work that we can now use as a map to follow in his footsteps. As it is said, lives of great men are reminders we may make our lives sublime, and so departing leave behind us footprints in the sands of time. I particularly like this one with the ladder, a sort of variegated ladder. It was very difficult to follow the instructions for this one and come up with a description of exactly how we saw it, so that from Meakin's text description, so that Janine could then, we could tell Janine, and then she could visualize it as these angels' wings with a ladder that was half stepped, I think was our description of that. So does anyone have any particular questions about these cards? You can use them for readings. You can use them for particularly this is the Hermit, of course, and you'll notice that the 4 elements are actually hidden. So we have fire, water, air, and earth in the links and representations of those. There's even a rose down in the bottom, according to the symbolism. So you can actually use this for readings for yourself. But I've used it for dream work, and it's been very powerful for that. I've also used it for magical work, for readings for myself as well. That's basically how I use this deck. And particularly as a contemplation of the roadmap of magical work, it really does, as Patricia was saying, it's a visual template for inner recognition. It really does allow you to contemplate where you might be and what challenges you might be facing, particularly at a particular grade or particular experience of magical work. So this is the Tarot of the Secret Dawn. It is an authentic Golden Dawn deck that was genuinely discovered by Derek Bain in the archives of the Golden Dawn in the Library of Freemasonry in London. So in a secret organization's archive, it was discovered by a researcher. The typescript was then given to myself and Tolly Goodwin, tarot workers and researchers, who were then in touch with a award-winning Canadian and Janine Hall, in order to produce a deck that has not been heard of or seen for an entire century. And this is the real actual magician's bookshelf. It is not the Dan Brown version of occultism, but this. Hello, Chrissy, and welcome to Conjunction. So you will also be getting one of these decks. If we do run out of the decks that we have in stock, then I will do everyone right by it and make sure that I order some. They're produced by the Game Crafter, and I know the guy who runs the Game Crafter. Very, very good guy, very keen to offer the Game Crafter services to people so that they can produce their own decks. We've got a couple of decks. The deck that was done for our cards here. And again, that's a deck, the Truth Tellers deck. It's available on the Game Crafter. And very few people know that it was Tali's niece who designed that for us and drew it. And she was 14 when she did that deck. So we have a genuine deck out there. And she's now at art college, at university studying art. So yeah, she wasn't just a child we got to draw a tarot deck. She already had a talent for art, and we really wanted to produce a deck for people that was designed by a 14-year-old. So That reminds me, I still have to go and find her latest royalties for that. We sent her some royalties, and I think it paid for an evening out or something like that at university. But yeah, there ain't that much money in tarot art, that is for sure. So yeah, there are some methods. I think I put some methods to use the deck in here. And we also have a full typescript of what Meakin had wrote in his original typescripts that mainly look like that. There's some that are a bit more raggedy than that. This is from 1911 was when these were dated. And we have a full typescript of that, and then we have our own decisions and thought process and explanation of how we carried out the symbolism of them. And then we have a card by card. So for example, let's take a look at the ones we've looked at. So the world, in the first initiation upon the path as a neophyte, let's actually hold that card up whilst we've got it, and then we'll close off unless there's any more questions. Here's the world. It's a pleasure, LPR. Thank you for researching and creating. Yep. The thing is, we don't have much choice. We often find ourselves in situations or called to follow certain threads. So we like to share those. That's the work that we do is only what we feel called to do, rather than what might be popular or financially viable or anything else. We just follow our instinct with things. In the first initiation upon the path, let's just hold this card where we can see it there. In the first initiation upon the path as a neophyte, the candidate is introduced to the world of symbols, requiring complex learning and understanding of correspondence. They are told, the light shineth in the darkness, but the darkness comprehendeth it not. The portal remains open before them, yet there is no immediate entrance. The forces of the elements, the planets and the zodiac are all introduced, but only at a conceptual and symbolic level. They remain enigmatic and abstract, yet maintain their own inherent coherence. Unknown to the candidate, these images, these abstractions, these symbols of power are all formulating in their unconscious, indicated here by the hidden moon above the portal. So we have written, and it continues like that in the PDF guide, or you can print it out, for each of the cards to explain how they hold together as an authentic tarot, as was originally intended by the Golden Dawn, by Waite, as a map of magical and spiritual experience. They had zero interest in using these for fortune telling. In fact, they saw fortune telling as a massive distraction. And when you are initiated into the Golden Dawn, you take an oath to never be hypnotized. And that doesn't just mean hypnotism. There were issues with fakes and charlatans doing pseudo-hypnosis at the time and defrauding people and so forth. And they sort of meant that they also didn't want people to join the Theosophical Magical Society, the offshoot of that, the occult school. But underneath it, they were also saying, do not allow yourself to be distracted by things, to be obsessed by things, to be hypnotized against your will by other people's forces, influences, voices, and opinions. That one of the first things you have to do as a neophyte is keep yourself focused, keep your studies, keep to the path, because that is where the results are beyond this door. Otherwise, it is just a discussion of symbols. It's a discussion of whose grimoire is older than whose grimoire, who's summoned the biggest demon, and all of this sort of nonsense that goes on. This is not any of that. This is the Western esoteric initiatory system. It is a system, it is geared to initiation, it is magical, occult, esoteric, spiritual, psychological, physical, but it is initiatory, and that is the intent and aim of it. So yeah, the Meditations in the Tarot is a interesting book because obviously the anonymous who wrote that, whose name escapes me, whose actual name escapes me, but he was well versed in theosophy, I think, was his background, but he also was widely read in the sort of hermetic documents and things like that. So he did have a lot, but it was very Christian, very hermetic, very spiritual, very deep, a very, very good book, very essential book to me in terms of students reading it. But it is a lifetime thing. Like with all of these things, it is a lifetime thing. So thanks a lot, everyone, for being with me on this brief live. I hope you found it interesting and useful. And again, just to go back to the sales spiel, for those joining the membership area for just $4.99, even if you cancel after your first few weeks, you will receive one of these dates for just the price of postage. What we'll do is when the dust has settled over the next few days, we will contact everyone in the membership area, and whether you are still a member or have joined and then cancelled, I hope you don't, but if you have done, we'll still contact you to get people's addresses, work out the cheapest postage, US or UK, and we will send you probably a PayPal link for the postage. We'll receive that, and then we'll get you your deck sent, and we'll send you the PDF of the entire booklet with the history, with the diagram of each card, and an explanation of the original. Oh, thank you, Neil. That's appreciated. Thank you so much. I should give a shout out to Neil, actually, because Neil has been very kind to offer super thanks, which is a way of the channel being income monetized and so forth. And oh, excellent, LBR. Welcome to calcination. Yeah, it is important that the channel is financially viable to some extent because I'm putting a lot of time and equipment into it, but to me it's far more important that it's a new forum, it's a new medium, it's a new surface or platform, whatever the streaming people call it these days. They're referring to them as services. They don't like the word platform anymore. Surfaces. So this is a new interface, a new surface to really offer and share and make known the ladder, and importantly, if I can find it again, the gateway to what I think is the core of the system. I've studied the Western Esoteric Initiatory system my whole life since I was 12, 13, and so for over 45 years, and it's sort of time, I guess, in my own life to really share the things I found important, I think are the core components of magic and occultism beyond the rituals, beyond the ceremonies and rituals and evocations, invocations, magical spells, divination, fortune telling, astral travel, lucid dreaming. All of that has its place. It really does have its place. It's part of our inquiry into what is possible for us in our relationship to the universe. But that should not hypnotize us. I sometimes use the analogy of all of these things, all of these materials being given to someone and them being in a cell. And these are the map of the escape, but what they do, instead of using it to escape their prison, they just use it to wallpaper their walls to make their life more comfortable and impressive to other people. And we should not use this to paper, we should not use our escape map to paper our cells. And I offer this channel really, and particularly the membership area, as a way for us to look beyond that wallpaper view of occultism, that very performative, self-congratulatory form of occultism, and look at it as to why is it important? What is it about? Why do we inquire? Why do we search? Why do we see what is beyond that? And why is it important for us to even bother doing all of this in any manner? And I'm going to be covering some more about that in the actual membership area. So if you like this deck, we have some going spare at the moment. We need to stop tripping over them. And we have a few other decks that we're going to be making offers with as well over time, but we'll make sure that those are also available for existing members if you're still a member at that particular point. But in the meantime, for the price of postage, for the price of 1 month's membership, you get all of the membership stuff and you get the deck as well. And we will be discussing it in the membership area as well over the coming year. I've got lots and lots of materials ready to go in our membership area. And we're really going to be looking at setting us up for a foundation in the Western Esoteric Initiatory system. And this is the practical basis of that. And then we will talk about the Crucible Club and the Order of Everlasting Day if people want to go even further into this work. But here on YouTube, we're going to be looking at all of the avenues, all of the doorways, and all of the gateways. So thanks a lot, everyone. If anyone's got any questions, ask them now or drop them into the comments. I'll be glad to answer them. And until next time, I'm going to be scheduling the lives in future. I've got another boot camp tomorrow. I think it's my 3rd YouTube boot camp tomorrow. So I want to be able to go back and report that I've done vertical live streaming now, that I've opened the membership system, that I've done a few other things that they have suggested. And as a result, hopefully they will pay more attention to the work that we're doing with the content. Some people have been really surprised that there's serious terror. Whenever I've said in our little group of 100 people on YouTube in this boot camp, quite often, even in the first couple of weeks that we've had, it's been very sneered at, very very sort of not quite ridicule, not openly at least, but just passed over. And I think it's a good opportunity for us to really sort of show and push the fact that we can have an academic research into Western Esotericism, we can have a common sense one, a grounded one, just a real one, that we're not all dressed up in fancy robes chanting into our own navels. So Bill, no, you don't need to do anything. We will be contacting everyone within YouTube itself in order to either get you to send us an email or we work out the easiest and best way of doing it for people over the coming couple of weeks. So thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks for joining me live and spending this time with me. It's very much appreciated. And as ever, until next time, the worker is hidden in the workshop.